Hello everyone, hope you are doing good and welcome back to my channel. Today we are at problem of the day 20 for Geeks for Geeks December month, and we have a medium level question in front of us. It's modified game of NIM. Okay, so what it is we'll see now. Before that, let's see the inputs first. We are given array whose length is n. Okay, both of them are given to us as input, the array as well as the length, and we have to return a single integer as the output. Okay, so let's see what the question is. So before beginning, let me tell you that this question again revolves around the topic of bit manipulation, and in particular its XOR operation. So from last few days we have been getting repeatedly questions revolving around XOR. So I hope by now you would have mastered what is XOR operation and what are the various properties and tricks that can be played with the XOR operation. Okay, and if you are a fresher, let me tell you this kind of question is only to teach you the property of XOR. Don't mind much if you do not get the answer directly, because in an interview, if you get this kind of questions, definitely the interview will give you some hints to reach the solution. Okay, that's what it is. The same thing we'll do also. We'll do a step by step manner, like how we are getting the hints and how we are implementing it. We'll see that, and we will also trace one of the given examples. So let's see the question now. It's yeah. So you are given an integer array A of an element, as I mentioned already. The array and the length is already given to us as input. Okay. There are two players, player one and player two. Uh, See, ultimately we'll have to return the answer is among one and two. Okay. The answer will be either one or either two. Okay. So keep in mind these things. Okay. Remember this part. There are two players, player one, player two. A player can choose any of the elements from the array and remove it. Okay, for example, I can choose 3 and I can remove it. So okay, that's the idea. If the bitwise XOR of all the remaining elements equals 0 after removal of the selected element, then that player loses. For example, I am player 1 and I remove this particular element, then I have to check the XOR of these two elements. If it is 0, that means I lose. Okay, as simple as that. Though that is the condition, and yeah, so that's what is mentioned here. Okay, the player loses. So please remember the sequence. After I remove element, if the XOR of remaining element is 0, okay, then I will lose. As simple as that. Find out the winner if player 1 starts the game. So one thing is very clear: player 1 is going to start the game, and they both play their best. Remember, this statement is very very easy. Otherwise, this problem would have been very difficult to solve. Okay, this is very very important. You will understand why I'm saying that while I solve the question. But remember, they are playing their best. Okay, why is that? I will tell you in the same example. We'll see how that works. Okay, because see, there are multiple scenarios coming. Okay, but if we take this into consideration, the scenario is reduced to only one. We'll see that how. Okay, so this is the basic input given to us, and the answer is 2. As we can see how it is, we will trace and see. Okay, so this is the given array. Okay, 3 and 2. Remember, it's very clearly given that both of them, one thing is very clear: player 1 is going to start. Okay, that is very very clear. Okay, they've clearly mentioned player 1 is going to start. Remember, next thing, they both are going to play their best. Now what is the best means? Let us see. For example, if player 1 removes 2, what will happen? XOR of 3 with 3. Okay, so remember, XOR of a number with itself is always 0. Let me quickly remind what is XOR, by the way. I'm talking about bitwise XOR here. Okay, what is bitwise XOR of same number with itself? So idea here is, see, if you take one bit and if you take another bit into XOR, what will happen is, if the two bits are same, okay, then the result will be 0. If the two bits are different, the result will be 1. Please have this thing clearly in your mind. Okay, this is slightly different from what we get in AND or OR operations, but we are talking about bitwise XOR here. Okay, so if the two bits are different, you are going to get the 1. If the two bits are same, you are going to get 0. So you by now you would have guessed that if two numbers, we are taking the same numbers and we are doing XOR, that means all the bits are going to be same. That means the resultant answer of the XOR will have all the bits as 0, which is in decimal is 0, right? That's why if the number is same, then the result is going to be 0. So that means if player 1 removes 2, you will have to take the XOR of these two. Okay, and the answer will be 0. That means player 1 will lose. But what is mentioned? They will play their best. Okay, so it's very clear. Player 1 will never select 2. Player 1 will always select 3 only. Okay, so player 1 selects 3 here. Okay, now we'll proceed. So this is the remaining elements in the array. Okay, 1 3 is removed. We have 3 and 2 next. Okay, so now coming to player 2. Remember one thing. Now it does not matter what you remove. Okay, whatever you remove, it does not matter. Okay, even if you play your best and remove anything, it doesn't matter the final result. Okay, we'll see that how. Let us say player 2 removes 3. Okay, so what is remaining? 2 is remaining. Okay, what will player 1 remove? It will also remove 2. So once player 2, see here, please see here carefully, this is the important part which is not clearly defined in the question. See here, player 2 removes 3. Okay, so what is remaining? Only 2 is remaining. Okay, only 2 is remaining. Okay, yeah, this is what it is remaining. Okay, now player 1 has only one option, right? It will remove the 2. Now what is the array? It is blank. So in this question they are considering even a blank array, if we take the XOR of it, will be 0. This is what is considered here. Remember, I am saying this from the experience of seeing the example. Okay, this is what they're doing here. Okay, once the array is, for example, in this case 3 comma 3. Okay, this is not empty, by the way. But anyway, before starting, if it becomes 0, then the other player wins. As simple as that. Okay, so in this case, once player one removes the thing, okay, once player one is removing the last element before the next player could draw anything, this is like null, right? So the XOR is assumed to be 0. Okay, that's why always the player 2 will win. So please start to understand the point here. If the number of there are three cases here. First case is if the you know the elements already result into a 0 by doing XOR. In that case, what will happen? They have mentioned it here in the second example. Okay, in this case, before anyone takes out anything, already the XOR is 0. Okay, 3 XOR with 3 is 0, as I just explained now. Okay, so obviously before doing itself, it is XOR is coming as 0. That's why the first player, before picking anything itself, the first player will win. Okay, so this is what it is. So we'll have to check that condition first. Okay, if the I will explain the whole code, but just for now, see the conditions here. If the XOR result is 0, okay, if the XOR result is 0, then one thing is very clear, that the player 1 is going to win. Okay, this is the case before starting any picking. Okay, none of the players are picked till now. So in the beginning itself, if the XOR is 0, player 1 will win. Now what are these things? I will come to this now. Okay, I will see that now. Remember, let us say we'll have a different number here. Okay, let us say they are not getting for example, let's say there is 4 here. Okay, so in no case they are resulting into a 0. What will happen now? So the match will continue as it is, and if the number is odd, okay, if the number is odd, it will always be the case that the player 2 is going to win. As you can see, in the player 1 will always end up in a situation where it will draw the last element, and because of that, player 2 will win. Okay, so remember one thing: if the XOR is already 0, before picking anything, player 1 wins. What are the other cases? If the number of elements is odd. If the number of elements is odd, what will happen? Always there will be a situation where player 1 is going to pick the last element. Okay, in that case, player 2 will always win. So that is what it is. Player 2 will always win. Now comes the same situation if you take the other vice versa. If the number of elements is 4, okay, if the number of elements is 4 and they are not getting 0 by default in the starting while doing XOR, then what will happen? Always a situation will come when player 2 is going to pick the last. Remember, if the number of elements is even, player 2 will be in a position where he's picking the last element. In that case, player 1 will always win. That's why I'm checking if the length of the array given to us is even. In that case, player 1 will win. In all other cases, that is, if the length is odd, player 2 will win. There's one more scenario when the XOR is already 0 before both the players start picking anything. In that case, again, player 1 wins based on the example given here. Based on example 2, this logic is not invented by me. This logic is already given in the example 2, and the same thing I have copied here. Okay, you can clearly see if the XOR is already 0, then player 1 simply declare the winner. They have not mentioned why and how, but because whenever array comes empty, or if the result is already there, then the next player wins. That is what the logic here. Okay, so this is how the solution we are getting. I'll quickly go over it. Okay, I'm taking an element I, which is going through each of the elements of the array. Okay, what I'm doing, I'm first of all declaring a XOR result which is 0, and then I'm doing the XOR of the previous results with the current element. Remember, this is initialized with 0. The number, any number XOR with 0 is going to be the same number. Remember that. Okay, so this is what we're doing. We're doing the ultimate idea here is we're doing XOR of all numbers with the other numbers. Okay, then we are getting the number. So once we come out of this loop, the XOR result will be basically the XOR of all the elements of the given array. Okay, so if it is already 0, then a player will declare winner based on the example 2. If it is even, then again there will be a situation where player 2 will end up picking the last element. In that case, player 1 will anyway win. And if that is not the case, that is if both these conditions are not true, then it will be a situation where the n is odd. In that case, player 1 will be in a position where it is picking the last element. Therefore, player 2 will always win. So yeah, friend, that was the basic idea. I will quickly run this and show you. Before that, let me comment it out. As you can see, this is clearing that given test case. You can submit it and check it on your own. This clears all the cases. Okay. So yeah, friend, that was all for today. As I mentioned again, like don't, if you're a fresher, don't think like why I'm not able to solve this kind of question. It's not like that. Okay. See, experience says very clearly you will have to learn the properties first. Okay. Even if you're able to tell the properties in a very confident way to the interviewer, like XOR properties, or like XOR of a number with itself, or XOR of a number with zero, all these things, if are very clear, then definitely that interviewer will try to give you some hints. Based on that, if you have to proceed and if you solve it correctly. Okay, as I mentioned, I see in the interview, if you get this question, let me be very clear. Okay, see, this sentence you have to be very clear. you will have to trace it out for one of the cases. Okay, for example, any example you can take which is given by the interviewer, you have to trace it out what is happening in each step. Okay, if the player plays to their best, what is happening? Okay, what are the possibilities coming and what is happening ultimately? Then you will come to the conclusion that if the number of elements matters basically. Okay, if the result is not zero at the starting itself, then the number of elements matters a lot in deciding the result, and that is what we are doing. Okay, so definitely the interview will also give you hints, and based on those hints you have to build the solution. Okay, so yeah, fun. That was all for today. Hope you are enjoying what we are doing, and yeah, that was what our aim is, like to collectively solve the questions. Okay, and to discuss either idea. If you have any other idea, if you find any other useful solution, please do share in the comment section. We can definitely discuss further. That is what is the benefit of doing things in a group, right? So yeah, fun. That was all for today. If you like my content, if you like the quality of my video, please do subscribe. It really motivates me a lot. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow.